Welcome in to another episode of Building the Pride. I am your host, Drew, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Mike. Mike, how are you?
Fantastic, Drew. It's always more fun when you're on the good side of a blowout victory, right?
Yes.
Oh, it was a fun game to watch.
This game was the most fun that I've had watching Lions football since the rebuild. So this was just after the first quarter was done, I was basically like, yeah, just like it just seemed like there was big play after big play, and it was exciting, and there was never any doubt that they were going to win after the first quarter, and that's always fun for me. So I had a blast. So
yeah, it's always fun when you don't have to worry.
Yes.
Right? That's kind of the key is you get to sit back and enjoy knowing your team's going to be fine, you're going to win, and all you want to do is not get hurt and validate the win.
Yep, 100%.
Before we get started, I wanted to throw a quick shout out. We jumped like 130 to up to 136 subscribers. So 13 Ale Wing and BD Buster. Appreciate you guys joining the crew and subscribing. So tell your friends. We're fun to be around. Pop into the chat whenever you want, or throw us some comments and the video on demand if you watch it after the live broadcast. So appreciate you joining the crew.
Yeah, it's always nice when the subscribers have their names. Like, you got to look up their names somehow, right? How do you do that?
Yeah. Well, so in YouTube, you can actually see it in alert if they give you that right. They have to. It's a permissions thing that they have to set on their account. So, but they did, and we can give them a shout out because of it. So appreciate that.
All right, excellent. We're on our way.
We're on our way
to the top of the Lions fandom content stuff.
So, Brian? Greetings
Brian,
to you as well.
Who has become one of our most active chat members over the last couple of months. Always good to see Brian.
Right on.
Another fun week. It was fun. I'm really excited about it being fun. I'm tired of... My Saturday was a nail biter, so it was nice to get a break on Sunday.
But you came out with the dub.
Yes. So that is true. That would have been super embarrassing.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how that game was going to go, to be honest.
It didn't start out great. It did not start out great. Will Johnson, our arguably our best player, has not played for a few games, and it's super noticeable because when you just like how you and I are with the Lions, like I am with the Wolverines, and so. Okay. When you have a guy that you rely on so heavily in some capacity out, you can tell when your opponents are picking on certain other members that may not play as much or might be freshmen or whatever. So they were picking. So and it was pretty effective. And one fun thing about I always watch the Wolverines with my dad. I've been doing that since I was a kid, and one fun thing about football the last couple of years is that they went down to one television in their house because nobody else lives there anymore. All the kids are moved out.
Right.
And so my mom watches the games with us now. And now she's started to get into watching, Lions football and Michigan football. And so when it's tight like that or shit isn't going your way, she gets really worked up about it. So there was an added level of tension there. So, but we awesome. We pulled out the victory. It's always good. So we had some big time, what they call flip targets in college football recruiting at the game. One of them is a cornerback named Shamari Earls, who's currently committed to Georgia. And he said some really positive things about the program, and there's some debate as to whether or not he might actually flip his commitment. So we're hoping for that. That would be great.
You can use that term commitment very loosely in college football anymore.
Well, they got to play somewhere. So, yeah, but we'll casually swear when speaking of the Red Wings. Yeah, see, there you go. Everybody's got their team, right? But yeah,
I can get behind that.
yeah, there you go. So well,
There
that was
were,
Saturday. Yeah, news and
yeah,
notes.
yeah. Let's talk news and notes. Well, maybe at the end, if we have a little bit of time, we can throw the video on of the Bears' devastating loss, which was always fun to see. But the Packers pulled one out at last second field goal. The Vikings got blown out by the Rams, who are finally healthy, and now they show it. So they could be kind of scary. I was looking at their schedule. They've only got like 3 hard games. They're going to be playing Philly, I think in Philly. So Michael Mortney, one of our subscribers, will be anxious for that game probably. But they also play Buffalo and they play the Niners again. But all their other games are, I don't want to say easy, but they're very winnable. They could go, 7-3 over these last 10 games or so. So, I mean, they have to stay healthy, which has been their trouble the last couple of years. But if they stay healthy, damn, they're good. And their defense is getting better too. So I'm not looking forward to seeing them in the playoffs if they make it. They'd have to make it to the second round, though.
Yep. If the season
we're going to get the bye,
the Lions would have the number 1 seed and a bye in the first round, and all of their playoff games would be in Detroit. So this is the thing last year that I was harping on so hard with like 3 weeks to go, was that you can't, and this is why I was so mad about the Dallas game last year, was that you needed every win so that you could get the bye and have all your games in Detroit. That was the most important thing. Yep. And it didn't end up happening that way. But now there is a little bit of separation between some of the teams at the top of the NFC. We have a game coming up against the Packers either this coming week or the week after. Yep. Is it this coming week?
Yep.
So, Jordan Love may or may not be healthy for that game, or how effective will he be? He's got some kind of groin strain. But to be honest, I don't know that I want him out, because when Malik Willis comes in for the Packers, he's been fantastic.
Played really well.
And not that Jordan Love isn't, not that he can't beat you with his legs, but he's not Malik Willis. So, I don't really like either choice. But we have some news and notes from around the NFL. I wanted to start off with wishing the best for 49ers cornerback Travarius Ward's family. He has a 1-year-old daughter who has died of a heart condition, which is extremely sad.
Devastating. I can't imagine.
And I don't know what anyone could ever say in a moment like this, but I wish him the best. So, yeah. And however that help comes to them, I hope for it. So, truly sad scenario. And then the Ravens traded for wide receiver Deontay Johnson, added a little bit to their receiving group. And speaking of wide receivers, Stephon Diggs has torn his ACL and is out for the year. So there is a chance that the Houston Texans will not have... Oh, there's BD Buster.
What's up, BD? You think Robert Saleh being hired by the Packers is going to affect us that much?
No.
I don't think so. No, I don't think he does. He got to play with Rodgers for a bit?
No, because he and LaFleur are buddies.
Well, I know, but how would that affect us at all?
I don't know.
Him going there, just probably not. I can't imagine it. Do they get better? Saleh's a good coach, so I would assume that they're going to get better, at least incrementally, wherever he's going to be a part of the team. But I don't think it's going to be enough to affect our games.
I look at it I can't remember who it's like when the Lions hired Spielman. That's the kind of way that I think about it, is he's probably a good dude to have in the building. But I look at that, if that's a free agent brain that they can just put in the organization, like you might as well have them in your building as opposed to your opponent's buildings.
Sure.
So I'm sure it's good for the Packers. I guess I don't really have a way to quantify how else it's good for them on the field. But like I'm a believer in like if you have more than one set of eyes on something, if you've got more than just one person's thoughts on something, you probably are coming up with better ideas. And like I don't know what you could attribute to Saleh, but
yeah. We do have other breaking news as well. Speaking of receivers, throw that right on the.
Yeah.
So prosecutors are reviewing a warrant request for Jameson Williams for a concealed weapons charge. So
I saw something
carrying a concealed weapon in a vehicle.
Yeah, all right, whatever.
Danny, we're way ahead of you. Yes, you're watching it right now too.
Danny, either give us this information before the show or not at all. I don't know what you're doing, what you're thinking.
So that's a real bummer. I'll be curious to see what happens here. I don't know. It says the gun was in the back seat registered to his brother, who had a concealed carry permit. The gun under the passenger seat was registered to him, who did not have a concealed license. So,
well,
I don't know. Just start making good decisions, good adult decisions, please.
I don't know. I mean, like, I don't care about this at all. I just don't. Fuck it. I mean, like, it's so prevalent in our culture that people have guns. Okay. So I just don't give a shit anymore. You have a gun in your car, fine.
I don't care about that. You just follow the rules, right?
Well, I mean, like,
get the permit.
I don't care if he didn't follow the rules, to be honest. I mean, like, people are going to have guns in their car. People are going to,
if it keeps him away from the team, aren't you going to care?
If it's his brother's gun, I mean, like, what are you going to do? I mean, like, is it his brother's car?
I don't know which vehicle.
So, I mean, if it's his
it was
car,
his gun. It's his gun.
It's Jamo's
and
gun.
His brother's. Jamo's gun was under the passenger seat.
Yeah.
Does not have a concealed carry. His brother has a concealed carry. His was on the passenger seat, apparently. So 2 guns in the car. His, no concealed carry license. His brother's does have a license. So
I just don't care. I mean, like,
I care if it keeps him off the field.
Sure, I guess. I mean, like,
if he gets suspended for it, then I care. Right? As a fan.
So the only way that I think the only way I think that he could be suspended for this is that the gambling charge would have to have this would have to be like his second offense for violating like the code of conduct policy or something.
Right.
So if the betting suspension that he had if this is going to be judged under the same statute by the NFL that thing was, we're going to talk.
Oops. We both clicked at the same time.
We're going to talk about this in a minute, Brian. This doesn't matter because Cam Robinson sucks. But like the only way that he gets suspended for this, in my opinion, is if this offense violates the same statute that the betting charge was. And he has to face some kind of like second offender's suspension. But like, we'll see, I guess. I mean, like, I don't love hearing it, but like at this point, I'm just kind of like, well, fuck it. I mean, he's going to keep making these decisions. Right? So, I mean,
it's the way it seems, that's for sure.
I have no doubt that if we get at the end of next season, the Lions are going to extend him. I have no doubt of that. So, but somebody's going to have to talk to him to be like, I mean, come on, man.
You need a life coach, JMO.
Something. Sounds like a money grab.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Probably if there's a fine or something.
Oh, from the NFL side of things.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if that was the case, And I know BD Buster is a new subscriber, so I don't want to piss him off. But like, but if that was the case, I mean, the NFL makes billions of dollars. This would be like me bending over to pick up a nickel on the sidewalk if they find him 15 grand, or whatever they find. They're not going to find him $100,000 or $500,000 or anything like that for a gun charge. So, I mean, like, I don't know where. I mean, the NFL is a license to print money unto itself, like most professional sports leagues are. So, like, money grab, oh man, that's some super greedy shit if it is. So,
unless he's talking about the police and a light charge, like a kind of a weak charge, just to fine him civilly or something. I don't know. Hey,
Danny, can you find me any NFL player that's ever gone to jail for a gun charge? All right, get back to me, buddy. So I understand this as to why you would have a gun. Now, I don't know why you would drive around Detroit at midnight, but I'm not 23 and rich. So like, but whatever. So, I mean, like, I can understand why a celebrity, let's call JMO a celebrity for the time being here, like, would want some kind of protection. I just can't imagine, though, that if it was like, hey, Detroit Lions, didn't Plaxico go to jail? Maybe. He went to MSU, right? So,
stop.
So, all right, Terrell Suggs, cool. Terrell Suggs played in the NFL how long ago? So, like, once every decade, someone goes to jail. Can you tell me how many of them go to jail on their first offense for a gun charge?
Yeah, especially something that seems to be relatively weak like this. Yeah, I'm not worried about that. Yeah, prosecutors going after. Yeah, that's what he was talking about. More on the civil side.
Interesting. Well,
yeah.
Fine. This is something that we should talk about in the off season.
Yeah.
This is an off-season conversation for sure. Because I hate this.
I thought they went all full-time refs. Is it just some full-time refs?
We'll have to look it up.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about this. Hey, Brian, since you're the newsbreaker, can you tell me what the compensation was for the move? Put our chat to work here a little bit. But Cam Robinson, it has never been a good left tackle. Mike, would you mind bringing him up on PFF?
I will do that.
He is a warm body until Christian Darrisaw gets back. So this is, I imagine,
Cameron Robinson.
I think it's Cam. I would just go Cam Robinson. I might be Cameron
Robbins. Oh, there we go. Texas.
I hate the way this
offensive tackle.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I got the right thing. So this is what we got here. So this season, playing okay. He had a 69.4 grade. That's pretty solid. But he's basically 52 to 65, most, on average.
He's a little bit better as a pass blocker than he is a run blocker, but he's just not. He is a beating heart. Yeah. Like if Aiden was still playing this year, I would be like, oh, this is great. Like, this is licking your chops kind of a player to play against. But like, he is a beating heart. He is a free agent. So depending on the severity of Darrishaw's injury and whatever his timetable is to return, if Darrishaw is ready to play week 1 of next year, Cam Robinson gently sails away into free agency at the end of the season. And if Darrishaw might miss, if he has to start the next year on the PUP list or something like that, then Cam Robinson's going to get a 1-year deal to stay with the Vikings or whatever. But can't find compensation. Fans seem to be confused as to what picks they had left. That's funny. But yeah, that's just we have a spot to fill, and we didn't have somebody that we trusted on the roster. So
do we want to go right into the game?
Sure.
Let's do it. So
let's get rid of Cam.
52 to 14. Yeah, let's get rid of Cam for right now. God bless it. Either you're the clicker or I'm the clicker. So 52-14. Pure domination. Fun game to watch as a fan of the
3/4 of domination.
Well, that's true. And then all the starters came out for the entire fourth quarter. And
pretty much.
They still couldn't do anything against us. Now, granted, we couldn't do much against them, but pretty solid. The the first half, the first quarter was a little bit, I'd say, in doubt. Like they went down and scored, we went down and scored. It's kind of a back-to-back thing, and our defense just didn't seem like they were going to stop them. Especially Ridley. Like, oh my God, will someone cover this man? Like the only guy they have, and he was like every effing drop back went to Calvin Ridley. And we had some good coverage. There was some really tight coverage, and that he still ended up with the ball. But starting, the second quarter, walked away with it. It was a ton of fun to watch. The first play from scrimmage, Decker, gives up a sack. And I'm like, uh-oh, this might be a long day. They put some pressure on early, and I think at halftime, correct me if I'm wrong, at halftime,
You're wrong.
We had 35 points in 9 passing yards.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Which is mind-blowing. Straight up mind-blowing.
So I'd like to, I've got the box score up. Let's just run through some stats just real quick. First downs, Tennessee had 23. Lions had 17. Total plays, Tennessee had 71. Lions had 47. Total yards, 416 for Tennessee, 225 for Detroit. Passing yards, 258 for the Titans, 61 for the Lions. Rushing yards, almost equal, 158 Tennessee, 164 Detroit. Here we go. Here's the difference. Penalties, 8 for 60 on Tennessee, Detroit, 3 for 29. Turnovers, 4 for the Titans, none for the Lions. And time of possession was 35 minutes for the Titans, 24 minutes for... Oh, you're gonna bring it up? Okay.
Yeah.
You're gonna
still
bring
go
it
through
up.
them.
Yeah. So if you look at this box score, you would
didn't
not
see the numbers up top, right?
You would not think that Tennessee had lost this game. The turnovers are the only thing that you would be like, ooh, that's a needle mover.
Well, not just that, because we had 225 yards of offense. We had 303 yards between kick return, punt return, and turnover, yards. 303 yards, including obviously the 90-yard touchdown by Khalif Raymond. That's an entire offense. It's an entire game's offense. And that wasn't even our offense doing it. That was special teams yards. And that kind of blew my mind. Yeah, I'm sorry, 305 yards is what I get for going by my memory. So 305, that's punt yards, return yards. There we go, 190 punt return yards, 72 kick return yards, and then I forget how many we had on the interceptions and the turnover yards. But I want to say the total was like 303 between all 4 of those categories. Special teams lit it up.
So a couple of weeks ago, maybe a little bit more, I said something like, it's so difficult for me to think about the Detroit Lions as the best team like in their conference, maybe the best team in football. Partially because of like the decades of losing and trauma that and I'm sure lots of other people have gone through because rooting for this franchise. And I don't know if like my inability to be like, oh no, they're great, and here's why they're great, is on point, which is weird because we have a show about that exact thing. But they are. And so I've been trying to expand like the information that I take in about the Lions to try and see if I can pin something down. And here's the thing that I think it comes down to for me is that Eric Schlitt, who is a writer and reporter over at the Pride of Detroit and is great and is maybe one of my probably my go-to source if I have anything that I want explained about Detroit. has said they can beat you in any way, in a number of different ways. And, listening to him do the matchups each and every week between the Lions and their opponent, it's like he knows what defense alignment the opposing team's going to be in and how Detroit's going to attack it. And then I see it happen on the field. And basically when Detroit has all of its pieces, including Jameson Williams, they will just, if you're trying to stop the run, they'll throw to St. Brown. If you're trying to stop St. Brown and bringing your safeties down, they'll take a shot over the top or try and beat you with Jameson Williams. If you're going to try and stop Jameson Williams and keep your safeties back, we'll run the ball, and here again,
toss it to Laporta, right?
He is still on the team. So
you got a tutty on National Tight Ends Day.
You sure did. Okay, that's the thing. Hey, Kathy.
Hey, Kath. Thanks for joining.
Tip of the hat. And in this game, it's the special teams. And it's just Khalil Dorsey and Khalif Raymond. And you know what? Jack Fox going out there and just being bosses.
Yeah.
Dorsey got this whole thing started with an excellent kick return. I think I was watching the game, and I don't remember at what point it was. Must have been in the second half. It was average starting field position. Tennessee started at their own 25, which is relatively normal. And Detroit started at Tennessee's 47, which is nuts.
Yeah, I know Goff was asked after the game about some of the stats and those kind of things. He's like, we had such good field position. I couldn't throw long balls. We don't have enough yards to throw long balls. Really, it's what a tough, rotten problem to have. Right? Is starting on the opposing side of the field every single time. It felt like it was pretty great, and we were 5 for 5 in the red zone. So that's huge. That's another one of those difference makers is we didn't get there and kick field goals. We went there and put it across the line.
One of the things that I've been, and maybe this is a good question for the chat as well. One of the things I've been trying to pay more attention to this season are what are the most important game deciding metrics to pay attention to. So we could talk about DVOA or EPA per play or WAR or PFF grades or quarterback rating or whatever, and I believe, and I'm probably lots of other people believe, that the turnover battle is the most important single stat about winning a football game. If you win the turnover battle, you have more chances than your opponent to score points. Joseph's on my side. There you go, Joseph.
Yep.
And therefore you should win games. But what are the next couple of things? Is it efficiency in the red zone? Is it third down conversion efficiency? Is
all
it
of the above
yards? I mean, what is it? Anyways, the thing that I when I was watching this game, and I know that Tennessee doesn't have the receiving core that some of the teams the Lions played earlier in the season have. Calvin Ridley,
especially after getting rid of D Hop right before us, right?
And Calvin Ridley certainly is good, and for one quarter it was a real problem. But Terry and Arnold and Carlton Davis didn't commit pass interference calls. They didn't hold or get called for holding. Terry and Arnold had a pass breakup. Carlton Davis didn't get beat. That kind of stuff. I thought that was a real positive.
Yeah.
But the special teams just put the Lions in such an advantageous position that they didn't have to do much to inflict crippling deficits on the Titans. Is there a metric that measures success in the trenches? That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question, and I wish I had an answer.
PFF grade's about as good as we're going to get.
I mean, so the PFF does measure run and pass blocking grades on a week to week, year to year level, time of possession.
I mean, does it though? They outpossessed us by 10 minutes this game, and we beat them by
Okay.
4 touchdowns. Now, granted, this is kind of a unicorn game, right? Like, this is not a normal game.
Right.
But how often is a team like that when you blow somebody out? A lot of times, those are big, quick scores, and you do that kind of thing. And the other team does end up having more time of possession, even though they are way on the wrong side of the scoreboard. So I'm not exact. I mean, it's good to have the ball the more generally, but I'm not sure it's one of those things that moves the needle as much as third down efficiency, red zone efficiency, turnovers, that kind of thing.
So I grew up watching Big Ten football. And so the Big Ten football when I was a kid was time of possession, run the ball, control the clock, don't turn the ball over, don't commit penalties, and you'll win, right? Because you have the ball more than your opponent. Now, I say that to say this. I think that the modern NFL, and I'll even go so far as to say like the NFL with this generation of quarterbacks, like the post Brady, post Manning group of quarterbacks, they are scoring more quickly and on fewer plays. And I think it's because of the quote unquote big play bend towards most NFL offenses. If you can get or an explosive play, like if you can manufacture explosive plays, whether they're in the running game or the passing game, that eats up so many other plays that you would have had to have make up under the old model to get to the same
3 yards in a cloud of dust. Right?
Exactly. Right. So if you have explosive plays, which the Lions are quite good at generating, whether they're running fake plays or running back passes to the end zone or just scheming up good runs. Oh, by the way, Jahmyr Gibbs, haven't yelled that loud in a long time when he finally cut one loose.
Oh, God, that was beautiful.
That was great.
22 miles an hour, by the way, the second really fastest run of the season.
So I think that what that does, I don't want to downplay time of possession because I do believe like the more that you hold the ball, the greater your chances are.
It's a generality, right? It's not a hard rule, but it's a general rule of thumb. If you've got it more, you're probably in better shape.
Yeah. So I wonder if time of possession is quote unquote less telling in modern NFL offenses than it was, say, 5 years ago.
Oh, I think so.
But I'm just kind of curious, like, if you were going to look at a series of metrics and then just based on that, try and determine who won the game, what would be the order of importance on those metrics? Turnover battle, time of possession, penalties and yardage, plays in opponent's territory. I don't know what it would be.
Third down percentage, third down conversion, and then red zone. Those would be the ones that I can think of off the top of my head. But to your point on the DVOA, our special teams had the highest DVOA since, there's only been one other team or one other game since 1979 that had what we had, which was Week 17 Texans versus Jaguars. 57.4% DVOA. That's bonkers.
Yeah. I mean, it was just so much fun to watch. And I'm trying to think. Rodrigo has an ankle injury. That happened. But I thought that even let's go to the PFF grades, Mike, and let's go through them real quick because a lot of the quote unquote backups, which they're not quote unquote backups, they're straight backups, right?
Yeah.
Like they got time in this game because of the injuries.
And I would call Khalif Raymond a backup as far as the offense is concerned, right? That is typically J-Mo's spot. He took J-Mo's spot over. It was St. Brown, Laporta, J-Mo, Patrick, and then Raymond, right? So, but with J-Mo out, Raymond got an opportunity. I mean, he only had 15 snaps on offense, but he played well.
Yeah. Played even better on the snaps he had on. He
special
only had like
teams.
3 or 4 snaps, But yeah, he was great.
So special teams. We never look at this, right? When we look at the stats for the game, we look at the offense, we look at the defense. We don't really look at special teams.
Maybe we should start.
Sione Vaki, 90 grade.
Punched out a fumble. Forced a fumble.
So
keep going.
Kickoff, punt. There we go. So punt return grades, 92.5. Not surprising.
So
kickoff, Dorsey was great. Jake Bates hit all of his things, right? Didn't miss anything.
He kicked his longest field goal of the year this week, 51
Which is
yards.
perfect timing because we were way up. If he missed it, it didn't matter, right? Just get him out there to kick game situations over 50 yards. And if he misses it, no skin, right?
Yeah, he does seem to be gaining confidence, which I'm a big fan of. Because
I am surprised at this, though.
Well, I don't know. I know try and take all the different information without relying too much on any individual data point or what have you. But
right.
I know that PFF does not put as much effort into special teams grades than they do.
I would assume not.
Offense and defense. So,
but on the offensive side, that's a lot of green, a lot of dark green. Gibbs almost 90, 87.7. 90 is when you get into like that high elite area. 87 being really damn good, right? And then you get into the 90s, you're like, elite. So Laporta looked good. I think they finally remembered that he was on the team. So he got some looks. Brock Wright played well at the other end on the tight end. Khalif Montgomery played well. Like everybody, all of our starters played really well.
I just want to address something that Joe Ostin here brought. Joe, do you prefer Joseph or Joe? I know your name says Joseph, but is that what you prefer to be called? Like if I reference you on the show? Anyways, well, let me know in the chat. And then he says, thought the cover 2 was suppressing big scoring plays. So let's talk about that real quick. So 2-3 years ago, Patrick Mahomes and the kid in Buffalo, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow were absolutely killing people by throwing the ball deep. And it was so traumatic to NFL defenses that they jumped on board. Joe is fine. Oh, you're a champ. They jumped on board with the only thing that they thought was effective against it, which was the Vic Fangio too high shell defense, which is basically you're just going to keep your 2 safeties over the top and you're not going to let fast wide receivers run 9 routes down the field and beat you. And so many teams have adopted that look now in the 2-3 years since that happened, that it has opened up the middle of the field for the passing, which is the Lions excel at, and I'm likely built their team in response to the fact that they thought this defense was probably going to become more prevalent. And when your safeties are back, you don't face 8 men in the box, so you have a numbers advantage in the running game. So the Lions built their team to do those things. And my opinion is that the too high shell basically does deter teams from taking shots down the field, but because of the ever evolving adaptations in the NFL, it has forced teams to figure out how they are going to manufacture explosive plays. And the way that Detroit does it is with their running game. So it's not that they're incapable of making big plays in the passing game. You have Jamison Williams and Sam Laporta. Part of the reason that he was drafted was because in college, he forced a lot of missed tackles. The Lions have made a real effort to get players on the team who create missed tackles. Montgomery, Gibbs, Laporta. That's
St. Brown.
Does he?
I mean, I think I
I
think
would
he
argue
does,
that
or
he
at
does
least no. I'd be
Well, so
curious to see where
he
some of
does
those.
not want to get hit.
Yeah,
So what
I
I
don't
see a
blame him.
lot, what I
He's
see a
not a
lot,
big dude.
he's not a big guy, right? And he is not a thick guy. So like, and I would also argue that Gibbs is not all that thick, but like Gibbs will put his shoulder down and hit you, especially if he's got a head of steam going. But what I see from St. Brown is he is not that elusive when he has the ball in his hands. When I see him make a big play, it's because he's run to an area of the field where there are no defenders and he has an opportunity to actually run with the ball. But more often than not, I see him like voluntarily go out of bounds, go to the ground in an effort to not get hit, which I think is good for him. And I would not recommend him changing that because it's going to prolong his career at his size.
Yeah, I guess when I think of tackle breaking for Amon-Ra St. Brown, it is not break a tackle and then continue like nothing happened. He's kind of jukey, right? And he'll more glancing blow and then diving, falling forward and getting an extra couple steps, as more so than what say Gibbs and Montgomery do. Well, they'll break the tackle, right? He's more of a glancing blow kind of thing, whereas they're going to just break the tackle and keep going. That was kind of my thought on St. Brown in the tackle breaking thoughts.
Okay. I agree with your assessment of the way that I have seen Amon-Ra St. Brown play. I just don't know that it aligns with the definition of what
that's fair.
Yeah. Anyways, unimportant to the overall intention of the conversation. So, yeah. So like, you remember Calvin Johnson, right?
Yeah, I heard of him.
Dude took some shots, right?
Sure did.
So I wonder, and like, especially later in his career, it was obvious that he was going to catch the ball and then go right to the ground. And it was because
he was going to go up and they were going to take his legs out. And that's the way you stop a guy.
Because how else are you supposed to take out to get a guy his size to the ground?
Yeah.
Right.
He's a freak of nature. He's bigger than most DBs and has them by 4 inches.
Look up Kirby Joseph for me, will you, real quick? Because I think he weighs something like 190 pounds. 200 pounds. So
6'1", 203. He's like me, but 25 pounds.
Super athletic, right?
Yeah, and well, I mean, other than that,
a professional athlete. So
professional athlete. Yeah.
Kirby Joseph is giving up 40 or 45 pounds to the lightest tight ends in the NFL. And more often than not, he's going to have to tackle guys like that.
Yeah. He lays on a hammer too.
So I don't believe, and like, so I know that there are a lot of people around the NFL who are calling like, oh, by the way, did you see the New Orleans player that tried to break Justin Herbert's knee?
Yeah, I saw that their offensive linemen go after him as well, as they should have.
Is some bullshit. And like most of the time, I'm like, hey, Bradley Bozeman, don't do that shit or whatever.
Yeah.
When it was that, go right ahead.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any respect or tolerance for people and trying to intentionally hurt other people. Yep. So he does not have a problem taking out a tight end's knee. Here's my problem and this is where I'm getting to, is that there's how else is a guy Kirby Joseph's size supposed to tackle somebody the size of TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah. You have to take him in the middle.
If you're not trying to hit him between the knee and the hip, he doesn't have a chance.
Yeah. Because
below the knee is going to be a penalty, and he will lose the physical battle if he tries to tackle him above the waist because you're out leveraged. So I just don't think it's a dirty play. I see safeties and corners do it all game long for every team in the NFL every week. So I mean, if what Kirby Joseph is doing is dirty, then the rest of the NFL is dirty. So
yeah. We had a couple other interesting things in this game. Or did you want to
I want to do the defense here because I want to call out my quote unquote my boy Jack Campbell,
78.
who I have railed against for a year and a half. He got a 78.
Picking it up. He's picking it up.
We're getting close. We're getting close. Thank you, man. Appreciate that, Steve-O. We're getting close to that 80. Almost halfway through the season.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he's played well. And he continues to improve. Like 70, 71, 79, like 73, almost 74 is not it's a little bit of a dip, but still 74 is a solid starter, right? Solid, good starting play, and then back up to almost 80 again.
I think, and the area that I think is really responsible for his improvement is what he's doing in coverage.
Yes.
Like, you can look at it a game by game.
Look at his coverage grade last year. 35.3.
It was horrific. It was horrific. I mean, he's almost 40 points higher this year.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just film room and understanding who you're supposed to have and where you're supposed to be on the field. But will he ever play up to the 18th pick? So that's an excellent question.
If he keeps going like this.
Can you bring up just all the linebackers in the NFL?
I can do that.
So Steve-O's question is one that had me just aghast during the draft when we took Campbell. And like, you can see, like, if you go back and watch our coverage of the draft, I went to being like a little confused at the Jahmyr Gibbs pick to being a complete whiny bitch when they took Campbell, because I just didn't get it.
You are not wrong.
I was so unhappy. And mainly because the guy, why would you do this? But because the guy that I would have taken at 18 was still on the board, and that was Brian Branch,
which we got for a steal in the second round.
So he's there 30 picks later, right?
Crazy.
Well, okay, so Steve-O is giving me so much right now, like so much.
All right, so let's talk about Campbell, and then we'll talk about Gibbs.
Okay, where is he?
20th.
Okay, so let's just say it's a year and a half. A year and a half into his career, he's being ranked as if he is the 20th best linebacker in football. So that is something like we should have Kent Lee Platt on the show again. Platty. Yeah. And we should talk to him about RAS again. But he is basically in the top 2/3. Well, we got some other dudes here, Mike. Let's snap count this.
Oh yeah. So I like to do 20%.
That's fine.
The max snap. So that way you get rid of the scrub. So he jumps up to 13.
Okay. So I will put this to you guys. So Steve-O asked the question: if this is where Jack Campbell plays the next 3 years, if he is a top 15 linebacker in the NFL for the next 3 years after this year, is that worth the 18th pick in the draft?
I would probably say yes.
Not for the Lions, for any football team. If you said to any football team with the 18th pick, you're going to draft this linebacker, and in 18 months, he is going to
basically
be
4 of their 5 rookie contract years.
Yep.
They'd be
he's top 15 at his position.
Even if he's at 15, like he's at the bottom of that. Yeah,
let's say
15,
let's just say he's 15th. He's the 15th best linebacker 3 years in a row. Is that worth the 18th pick in the draft? Joseph says yes.
Mike says hell yes. To the yes.
Hell to the yes. Mike says yes. I say no. And the reason being is that with a first round pick, I mean, especially a top 20 pick, I just believe in positional value too much to say that's worth it. I don't know. If you look at the linebackers on this list,
what was his draft year? 23?
Yeah, year after Aiton's.
So
who was drafted after Campbell was producing?
Yes. So let's take a look at him. He was an undrafted free agent.
Yep.
So, and the reason why I wanted to bring this up is even within his year, we could have gotten as an undrafted free agent someone that has played better than him.
So just hang on a second. So right now, Trenton Simpson is a starter in Baltimore. Diane Henley is a starter in Los Angeles. Henry To'o is a starter in Houston. Pace is a starter in Minnesota. We just played them. Overshown has been a starter at times, I think largely due to the injuries they've had on defense in Dallas. And I don't recognize the other guys. Ivan Pace was also a UDFA. Good call, Steve-O.
Yes. Yep.
Brian says Campbell is worth it. So here's my take on it. I think a pick at 18 is better spent, and like all drafts are different, so I get it. But like, I think the Lions would be better served if they had like an edge rusher that was, let's say, not as good as Campbell, but still like playing basically as like a starter level edge rusher.
So like say 25th best edge rusher.
Or I'll even give you like 30th or like 32nd.
Yeah.
Just like he's a starting level edge rusher in the NFL. I think I would rather have that than the 15th best linebacker. Campbell's
especially knowing you could get Pace and Diabate for free afterwards, right? Like we could have gotten them afterwards while also getting the edge rusher. Is that what you're saying?
Could we have drafted Joey Porter at 18 instead of Campbell? I don't remember where Porter went, but it was around there. Hang on, Mike. Let me do this one. I think I can handle that whilst you are doing your thing. But like, so let's talk about Gibbs.
Yes. He was second round, 33 overall.
Oh, okay. So he was the first pick in the second round. Yes. So who was this edge? I'm just hypothesizing, Joe, because like you don't technically know like who's going to be available or how well they're going to do when you draft them, right? So like, and a lot of these guys like Ivan Pace Jr., like he went to the right situation for him, right? Like if he just ends up on any of the other 31 rosters in the NFL, he may not be the kind of player that he is. Like all the guys that we brought up are playing well, but in their own situations, right? And those situations are not exactly the same as what the situation in Detroit would be. So like there is a lot of variance in like this kind of opinion, right? So, but like when you are drafting a player on the draft night, you just don't know like who you're going to get, right? You think you do. And Brad Holmes has been right way more often than he has been wrong. So that's great. You can only draft the guys in the draft. Position value sucks if the guy's a scrub. So here's the thing.
You just have to be right ultimately.
Well,
right?
I mean, like, so here's the thing, and we've talked about this before too. And this draft class is a great example of this. If you are right on a draft pick, regardless of position, it's a valuable thing. It's a valuable thing. It doesn't matter what position they play. If you're correct that the player is useful and fits for what you're trying to do. And that's what Brad Holmes is so good at. So Brad Holmes is largely the positional value breaker, breaker of chains or whatever, like that's what Brad Holmes is to the positional value model. Because if you're correct about a player and that player then produces and is effective in what you're trying to do, it doesn't matter. But where positional value is trying to make up the difference is by saying, we don't know, we think we know, but we don't know if this guy is going to turn out, quote unquote, as advertised. right? So if you are going to take a swing on a player, which all draft picks are a swing, you might as well try and take a swing on a position that costs you more money in the long run. Because, like a quarterback, for example, if you hit on a quarterback and you get some of the best years of his career on a rookie contract, and there's no better asset in the sport of football than a rookie quarterback playing well on a rookie deal. It literally changes the face of your franchise. So like what Washington is experiencing right now, what Chicago is experiencing right now, and if I know Drake May got a concussion this last week, but these last 2 weeks, he's looked relatively good on a really bad team. And if you hit on those kinds of guys, it allows you to go and expand in other areas. And you get them cheaper. This is as cheap as these guys can ever be. So you might as well spend your premium draft capital on the guys that might cost you the most money.
Yeah.
They want players that, and that's the other thing, right? So like when during draft season, when you hear about like who's on whose board, right? Their big board, their draft board, and sometimes you get a look at like the Atlanta Falcons accidentally leaked their draft board. The Dallas Cowboys posted pictures to their website with their draft board in the background, and you can kind of see how they do this stuff. Like the New England Patriots under Bill Belichick had some of the smallest available pool of players to draft because they wanted guys that fit unbelievably critical and defined roles. And if you didn't find those players, they were not interested in them. And I have to imagine that Detroit's board looks a lot like what similar. New England did, because they want the team captains. They want the guys who are going to show up first to show up and last to leave. You know, that kind of mentality. Run through the brick wall, like the intangibles, right? Like
that is Jack Campbell, right?
That is
Let's be real. That is exactly what Jack Campbell is. He's team captain, run through the wall, hardest working player on the team, kind of stuff. So,
and Jack Campbell went to Iowa, and there has never been a player from Iowa that they didn't love. So, like if you are a Bears, and we have some fans here who are not necessarily Lions fans. So if you are a Cardinals fan, or a Eagles fan, or a Vikings fan, or whomever, like positional value is just a tool that you can use to try and figure out like what might be the most advantageous player to draft in a particular spot. Did you see this team being this good 3 years ago when they got hired? No one did.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did.
One person, Sheila Ford.
Yeah, three people, thought. Brad and Dan as well.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they had that vision, not just Sheila, and not just Brad, not just Dan, but also the other execs that went through that process, right? Like Chris Spielman, right? In that group, the whole group, I think they saw where this could go. And again, it's positional value isn't the only metric when you make your decision. It is just one of many, right? So you have to figure out where you want to value positional value alongside culture fit, alongside, motor, alongside the leadership that, guys like Campbell have. So like all of those go into it. They don't just go, all right, hey, this is the positional value matrix and we are at this point in the draft, so therefore it's this. Who's the best this that there is? There's a lot that goes into it, which is why everybody's board is different, because they value different things at different levels. So I think we've done a pretty good job of figuring out what those values are and drafting toward it.
So I don't care about the first part of this sentence because it goes without saying that it's hard. I mean, if it was easy, every team in the NFL would be good. So making that the assumed model of success is short-sighted, every model fits that definition. Best player available. To whom? I mean, if you line up 10 NFL GMs and ask them to gauge the top 10 players in any draft class, they're not going to look the same.
Right.
So, I mean, like, all of these models are subjective. So therefore, you could say, like, based upon differing perspectives or points of view, that they're all short-sighted from someone else's point of view.
Yeah.
So, like,
I think what he's saying is just because you have a rookie quarterback on a rookie contract isn't the only model for success. Which is true. It just helps, right?
It is
if you hit on that quarterback.
Right, but it is the one that 30 teams in the NFL are trying to do right now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I mean, because that gives you the assets, the money to do other things to also improve your team. So, like, if you do that, you are more likely to be able to do the rest.
Right.
I mean, think about the Detroit when, I think Stafford was the last. Was he the last one on the previous CBA, the old CBA, where there wasn't a rookie wage scale? And it was Calvin and Sue and Stafford at being like numbers. So Calvin was number 2. Thank you, Raiders, for taking Jamarcus Russell, for the love of God. And then Stafford was number 1 and Sue was number 2. They took up 40% of our cap space.
Yeah.
How do you build a team when you get 60% of the cap that everybody else has? Right? So, like, having that on a rookie scale would have been amazing for the Detroit Lions. And that's what it does now, right? Everybody went, wow, that really sucks. Like, they got these draft picks. They were really bad. We want to be a sport of parity where everybody's got a shot. But having these high draft picks get these big contracts completely screws you. So it's no longer a parity type of situation. So they enacted that, and I think it's been a much better way to get really bad teams good, unless you're Carolina.
So, yeah, I mean, in my opinion, there is no one model that anybody should pay attention to, but there are models that are going to, quote unquote, lead the decision-making process. And so, like, I have yet to find someone describe best player available to me where that player isn't a quarterback, like at the point when they could draft him. Anyways, it doesn't matter. This is an interesting question. Did you see this team being this good 3 years ago when they got hired? No, because I'd never seen it. This is the best Detroit Lions team I have seen in my entire life. No notes.
Yeah. Period. End of sentence. Not even back with Barry Sanders.
I mean,
he is the greatest player I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But our defense was okay, and the rest of our offense was okay. Nothing like a juggernaut in all 3 phases. And we had Jason Hansen, so we had a juggernaut at kicker.
Oh, God.
But, like, our defense was kind of meh. And we had Scott Mitchell at quarterback. He threw for 4,000 yards in Miami and came to us. And, I mean, he's as mobile as a pylon, right? Then and now, I'm sure. So, like, and I'm not saying he was the reason why we lost. I don't want him trying to hunt me down. But, like, he was not the reason why we won either, right? Barry Sanders got us what we needed to do, and we were not a full, well-rounded team back in the 90s.
So one thing that I am really appreciating about this Lions team and the way that it was constructed is that I do think that in the relatively recent past, the Lions have had, quote unquote, more individually talented players on their roster than this team currently possesses, but they have never had as many good to great players on a team at the same time that this team has. So, like, the way that Hutch was playing this year before he got hurt, I could see him being put up there with, like, is he as dominant as Ndamukong Suh was? But, like, Calvin Johnson is continuing to be like a unicorn. There are just not wide receivers that have his proportions, how athletic he was, what he was able to do on the field. And, like, I am not as big of a Matthew Stafford fan as you are, but, like, I think that Matthew Stafford is a better quarterback at playing the game of football than Jared Goff is. So I would love to see Matthew Stafford on this team. I mean,
not that Goff isn't doing what he needs to do, right? This offense is perfectly suited for his strengths.
Yes.
but having a I think in every way Stafford is at least a little bit better. Even the mobility. Neither of them are particularly mobile, but I think that Stafford is just from a little bit better to a lot of it better in almost every single category a quarterback can be. But that doesn't mean Goff can't, run this offense and win a lot, because he has been, right? We've got this built right around exactly the things that he does well. So, one of the other things I want to do is, because this game actually had quite a bit of fun stuff. So I'm going to throw this up here. So the Lions scored 172 points in their last 4 games, which is the most we have scored in any 4-game span in our history. And we go back into the 20s. So kudos to you, Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, Monty and Gibbs, St. Brown, all you guys on the offense, the offensive line, which is the chassis to the vehicle that we're driving here. That's a lot of points. That is a lot of points. That's 43 points a game for 4 straight games. Yowza. The Montgomery and Gibbs train, they are the first running back duo in NFL history, not just Lions history, to each produce 1,500 scrimmage yards and 15 scrimmage touchdowns in their first 20 games together. They did this after 19 games, by the way. That's a lot of yards, a lot of touchdowns on the running game. So that's pretty cool. And then Gibbs had his 6th straight game averaging 5 yards a carry, 10 attempt minimum. So it is tying the NFL record streak with Adrian Peterson. He's pretty good. Chris Johnson and Franco Harris. So 2 of those are Hall of Famers, and the other one might be one of the fastest humans I've ever seen. So Gibbs has been killing it. This is awesome. I'd love to see him break this record. Also because it's against the Packers, and if he averages 5 yards a carry against the Packers, we're probably winning the game. So, and then I think these are the ones that you kind of sent me. Do you want to kind of talk about some of the efficiency stuff? We got Gibbs way at the top, way up here.
Yep. So, and he's way at the top really because I think number one, I don't know how I want to say this. I'm having trouble phrasing, but his EPA is so high because when he gets opportunities, he's absolutely crushing it. Right. And so they've nicknamed these guys Sonic and Tails, right? I think
Knuckles.
Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah. Have you seen the videos though, by the way, with his runs, and they got the little gold circles and it's the Sonic sounds ding 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 as he's collecting the gold
really
rings.
Cute.
Oh my god. Mm-hmm. Or Riot.
I love what Jahmyr Gibbs is doing. I get really excited. He had a 45-yard run a week ago. He had a 70-yard run this week. It's great stuff. I love it. If you take the 70-yard rush off of his game this last week, he still averaged 5.7 yards a carry. So he's doing it. It's what the stats that you threw up just now. Mm-hmm. He's achieving those without his home run plays. And I still think that David Montgomery is the better running back for this. The reason will always continue to be that I think that Jared Goff thrives when the Lions offense is controlling down and distance. And David Montgomery
being violent.
Yeah, David Montgomery.
When the offensive line is violent.
That's right. David Montgomery is the better of these 2 backs. Maybe not by much, but he is, in my opinion, better because he is the one who is going to turn 1st and 10 into 2nd and 6 more often than Jahmyr Gibbs. And Jahmyr Gibbs is the running back that is going to be if you give him a crease, he's going to take it to the house. So, and he's now doing that. So I don't dislike.
Monty's over here too, right? He is at the higher end of the success rate. Both of them are over 45% success rate on their
which
rush.
is a
So
testament to the offensive line. Yep.
yes.
So
Then the
go ahead.
Yeah, then the other one was the running back negative and explosive plays run rate. So Gibbs has a really low negative run rate and really high explosive run rate. So that's pretty awesome.
So, and this is also what you expect to see is that David Montgomery is less explosive than Jahmyr Gibbs. Not a surprise, but also, getting positive. Well, that's kind of what we want to do. Like, there's too many shows now that are just like shouty drama content type of shows, and we just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So like,
and one of the things that I like about what we do is we're going to be honest about things and not strictly rose-colored glasses, but also not strictly, angry and upset, cranky fan kind of things. Like, if someone has a bad game, we'll point it out. If someone's, doing a great game, we'll point that out as well. So I feel like a little bit more like Mickey Redmond for any Red Wings fans out there. He's the announcer for the Red Wings, and he's a little bit of a homer, but man, he'll be like, "Oh yeah, we got away with that one," or "Our guy can't do that. He's got to be smarter." Like he's actually fairly even when it comes to talking about his team. So, and I feel like we do a pretty good job about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like seeing ours way below the average, right? The NFL average looks like it's about 9.8%, and we are what looks like about 7.8, and Gibbs looks like he's probably about 5.5. Like, that's pretty good. Loving to see that.
Who is Aaron Klein?
Aaron Klein?
He said,
I feel like Aaron Klein is coaching his butt off.
Yeah,
is he our
Aaron Klein?
Running backs coach?
No, I don't think so.
Interesting.
Let's see. Aaron Klein, coach.
I got nothing. BD,
nothing.
Can you help us out there, buddy?
Who is it, man? So, maybe.
Probably Aaron Glenn. Yeah, but it's Aaron Glenn. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So like the Lions are I think the Brad Holmes approach. Yeah. Oh, see, look, Steve-O and BD Buster, same wavelength. What's the frequency, Kenneth? That kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. That's
meanwhile, we're like
Lions talk and super old REM references. So let's stop this banner for a minute. Brad Holmes is building this roster under a couple, I think we're 3.5 years in. There's a couple of things you can glean from about what Brad Holmes wants to do. Brad Holmes is going to draft high content, high intangible players with excellent work ethics, and he's willing to take those players, quote unquote, if they are hurt or if there was some problem with them that prevented them from playing football. They transferred and had to sit out, or they got hurt. Most of the time it's being hurt, that kind of thing. But what this has done is it has raised the floor of this team. I don't know about the ceiling, but like, I think that the ceiling gets raised when you bring in players of like exceptional talent. And I'm not saying that the Lions have not brought in talent, because they obviously have. But I think the kind of talent that the Lions have brought in is the kind of talent that comes out and shines when it is developed, as opposed to raw athleticism, raw talent. Like, this is the Lions are in the business of making diamonds.
I mean, right? They've got some nice raw talent, though, right? Like,
well, it's hard.
Sewell are raw talents, but
it is hard to miss on those guys, so.
St. Brown, I think, is another raw talent, but guys like Rodrigo, I think, is somebody that they're molding, right? And I even think Jack Campbell, while he does have raw talent, like, clearly his first year and a half was not great, right? But like this year, the last half, the first couple games were even kind of like, meh. But the last 8 games or whatever, he's been doing really, really well.
I don't know if these little stars show up to the people in chat, but I'm going to give BD Buster a little star right here on his. I feel like Aaron, quote unquote, Glenn is coaching his butt off. You don't see a lot of Aaron Glenn love out there, unless it's coming from Dan Campbell. So I appreciate that you said that, because I feel like this is the first year that like Aaron Glenn has had, quote unquote, his guys.
Yeah.
To really run what he wants.
Like
to
a
do.
full and healthy, right? Like last year, our secondary was not healthy. This year, we're generally pretty healthy. We're young, but we're healthy, right? So,
well, I would argue that this year has been the least healthy of any year under the current regime. You've lost Hutch and Davenport and Barnes. Yeah. I mean,
we had everybody on our secondary hurt last year, though. Like we brought everybody in, and then we had Branch was the only guy that was like healthy. That was a planned starter.
Branch and Joseph were there.
Yeah, but even Joseph's year last year wasn't as good as it was this year. So we had 2 starters in the backfield.
Right, the players in the secondary are better this year.
Yeah,
and they're healthy.
Yeah,
but like I think that losing Aiden Hutchinson was worth.
Year that we on the value side of the injuries this year, our total
injuries
points, right? We're out more total talent points because Aiden's got so many of those talent points.
I'm really unhappy about his hurt. Nowitzki is a good example of the way they develop a player that has some athletic potential and mindset to fit the culture. Yeah. And
nice interception. Congrats.
I don't know what they do with their draft picks, because you're going to run out of spots. You're going to run out of spots. I've never
because you keep hitting.
I've never encountered this problem before, but they're going to run out of spots on the roster to stash their picks. Like, I don't know that if you have enough spots on the roster to, like, quote unquote, give a guy a red shirt year like they did with Martin and Manu Giovanni Manu this last year. I mean, like, what are you going to do you might not have 7 spots.
Michael? I got an idea.
What is that?
Trade them at the trade deadline to pick up an edge.
All right. I mean, that sounds good. Yeah. So Detroit, really good job, Detroit. 6-1. I'm loving some of these advanced metrics that I'm seeing about just how, like, the efficiency and like how well they're playing. And I think that I think that you can just see that on the field. It's like, oh, the Lions are playing really well. Like, the numbers that indicate how well they're playing should reflect that, right?
Yep.
And like, okay, so Tennessee's not going to, be in the AFC Championship anytime soon, but like, when you're a good team and you're playing a bad team, this is what it should look like. And they straight up crushed them in all 3 phases.
Yeah. And only 9 teams since 1979 have ranked inside the top 5 in DVOA in all 3 phases after the 8th week. 6 of those 9, 2/3 of those, won the Super Bowl. We are the 9th team. So 6 of the 8, we are now the 9th team. Do I buy the tickets now, Drew?
No. Well, let's talk about it, Mike. Get rid of this and we'll talk about it.
All right, let's do it.
We are on once a week, BD Buster, Tuesdays at 7 Eastern.
Next week will be a little bit interesting because it is the election. We may start out a little bit late. So maybe it'll just be me. I don't know.
I am an election worker, and so I do not. I take the day off from everything in order to go work the election. So that is 6 in the morning to 9 at night. So I will not, and it's the presidential election.
So a lot of people.
There will be more people there than there were in August for sure. And so we're expecting 2.5 people for every 1 voter. So I'm expecting 500 to 600 people to come through my precinct out of 1,400 that are available. So I am not going to be able to get out before 9 o'clock. Now I will come back to my house, ta-da, and do this show after we're done, but it'll be 2 hours later easy.
Yeah.
So
we may start a little bit late, just so we get
or
all the
Mike can
talking,
just do it
or
by
I may
himself,
just do it by myself, which I've done before as well.
which
Not as often as Drew.
I think that that's probably where we should go with it, because I would
Probably where we'll land.
rather stick to our normal day and time
Yeah.
than fuck with it, to be honest. And
Yeah.
like I'm just not going to be available, unfortunately.
To be honest, I'm going to be excited because that is trade deadline day, and there's going to probably be a lot of interesting shit to talk about. And I don't want to wait for Drew to do it, so I'll probably just pick it up at 7.
I want to talk about it so bad. So, but let's talk about the Lions' chances to win a Super Bowl here. Okay,
Yeah.
let's. They are currently the number 1 team in the NFC. If the playoffs were today, they would be the number 1 seed, and they would have a bye, and all of their playoff games would be at home. So the playoff picture is thus. Right now, it's Detroit, Washington, Atlanta, and Arizona, because they're all leading their divisions. And then we have Green Bay, Minnesota, Philly, and Chicago as the other playoff teams. In that group, the only team that I am really concerned with at all is the Green Bay Packers, who I think are the second best team in the NFC. In the AFC, we have the Chiefs, who are, let's be honest, not playing very well and still winning football games. So if you looked at their stats, you'd be like, the fuck, how are they doing this? Even Mahomes isn't necessarily playing very well.
He's got more interceptions than touchdowns, I think, right now.
It's really strange right now. Then you've got, well, their defense is playing pretty well, I believe. But like,
yeah. Well, it's kind of like, look at our last game, right? We had 35 points at half and only 9 passing yards.
Right.
Exactly. So like shit happens.
So currently, there's only 7 spots. So it would be Kansas City, Houston, Pittsburgh, and Buffalo. Those, well, at least Houston and Buffalo are probably locks for the playoff. Pittsburgh might have a battle on their hands in the AFC North. Then Denver, Baltimore, and the Los Angeles Chargers. And then you've got the Colts, Bengals. The Colts and Bengals are in striking distance. So of the teams in the AFC, the ones I would not want to play are the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens. But I think somebody in chat said a minute ago, like, we've got a big test this upcoming week against
Green Bay.
In Green Bay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pick the Lions to win, but I'm going to say it's like 31-28. So
is that with Malik Willis or without Malik Willis?
Well, I think that Jordan,
I don't think that he's going to do as well as Love, right? I think Love will put, they'll be more likely to score points with Love than Willis, but he's looked pretty damn good as a backup.
I think that Jordan Love will end up being the starter in that game. Like, it doesn't sound like his groin injury is all that serious. So they'll probably keep him out through Thursday and like leading up to the game. I'll bet they'll be like, will he, won't he, or whatever. But I don't expect them to just be like, no, Malik Willis is going to play. But like either way, like I think that beating the Packers is going to come down to like, you're going to have to stop the run, and then the secondary is going to have to play better than what they've traditionally played, because this is another unit where like all the guys can hurt you.
Yeah.
The running back's good. Your tight ends are good. You got a lot of decent wide receivers that are not going to make stupid mistakes. So like, I think the way that the Lions beat the Packers is the Lions have to limit the Packers running game, and the Lions basically, they need to, where the Lions have the advantages on offense. So The Lions need to keep that red zone efficiency high, and just, convert their chances. And I think that they'll win. So let's, I'm just going to click on this real quick too, Mike, here. Why hasn't Brad made a move yet? If they don't add an edge that can produce some pressure, our Super Bowl chances decline a lot. So I would agree with the Super Bowl chances decline, when Aiden Hutchinson's not playing. But so Kansas City traded for Josh Uche. So there's one guy gone. I do not, and I have said repeatedly that I do not believe that Myles Garrett or Max Crosby are actually available for trade.
Right.
So I think that the guys that you are looking at available for trade are people like
Cameron Jordan.
Smith. I don't think Cameron Jordan's available. I think Cameron Jordan wants to die in a New Orleans Saints jersey.
Yeah.
And he's been such a good player for them over such a long time that I think he's the kind of guy that's like, okay, yeah, we're not going to trade you for loyalty. But would Carl Granderson from New Orleans be available? Maybe. Are either of these guys needle movers? I don't know. They're not needle movers for their current teams. I mean, we're a better one, but
yeah, but if we can give our secondary, if we can take a half a second off that they have to cover their guys, I think that does help dramatically, right? So if we can get just a bit more pressure on more consistently, I think it'll help our secondary, especially our young guys like Terry and Arnold.
Yeah, I agree. A better pass rush helps your pass defense 100%. So I don't believe that Hassan Reddick is available anymore. He's playing for the Jets, so that situation looks like it's resolved. And it's like you're not going to replace Aiden Hutchinson. So here's the thing: like, we didn't really. What about Hendrickson? I just don't think the Bengals think that they're out of the playoff picture. I don't think that they view themselves as sellers at the deadline. Like, the season's over, we're going to get rid of Trey Hendrickson or whatever. And like,
there's one more game.
He is having the worst season of his career, I believe, in a long time. So I don't know. Maybe that's because he's on a team that's not playing very well right now. I have a very low opinion of the Bengals, but
they've got great half of a team.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the other half is real bad.
Yeah.
So, and he's a part of that half. Now, it would be one thing if he was like playing really well on a bad defensive unit, and that's just not the case. And I don't know if it's necessarily the case with any of the guys that we've mentioned. When someone's available for trade, it's because most of the time it's because the team that they're on is bad. And it's like, if you're on is a bad team going to trade their good players? I don't think that that's likely. And it's not
unless they're tearing it down, right? The only time they do that is when they're going to burn it to the ground and try to get some assets to start rebuilding.
And someone asked a question: why hasn't Brad Holmes made a move yet? Because I don't think that Brad Holmes wants to make a move during the season. And I've watched several Dan Campbell interviews, like press conferences that he's done, and he is always being asked, hey, is Brad going to make a move? What's Brad's attitude on making an in-season trade? And he's always like, yeah, probably. Like, it could happen. Like, he's seems upbeat and positive about it. And yet Brad Holmes has just not done this.
Well, I also wonder if they're trying to go, all right, well, how bad do we need this? All right, let's see what happens this game. All right, well, we blew out the other team, and we didn't get a ton of pressure on the quarterback, but we didn't do terrible. We sacked him a few times, didn't we? If I remember right.
Yeah, and you know what? And to be honest, like
that one sack. So,
well,
Muhammad got there, right? He got 6 total pressures.
Yep. And so, like, and Onwuzurike had a pressure that led to the Nowatzki interception.
Yep.
But like,
Branch
look
had
at
a couple
this.
reader.
So like, Muhammad
got some pressure.
Yeah, that's just it. Like, does it look like what it looks like with Aiden Hutchinson in there? No, it does not. And unless so, Steve-O says Harold Landry or Arden Key. Campbell had a lot of really nice things to say about Harold Landry, and the D-line coach, I think it's Terrell Williams, coached Landry when Williams was with the Titans. So they do have some coaching familiarity there. The only thing that I will say is that Harold Landry is not the kind of pass rusher that they want. They want guys that are like Marcus Davenport, like 6'3", 270, like the Aiden Hutchinson height, weight, speed kind of thing. And like Harold Landry is two of those things. So, I mean, maybe they would make a move if Tennessee is like, well, we got to just get picks or move off money or whatever. But like Harold Landry or Zadarius Smith are the guys that I think are probably the most likely to be moved, and B, the Lions would want out because they have some kind of familiarity with them.
And I think what we're doing is we're waiting to the last possible second. Oh, let's pull up Muhammad, see how he does. He comes in and plays pretty good. All right, well, maybe we don't need to make it. Like I think they're waiting to see how important is this move. Like, is this going to be something we absolutely have to do because none of our guys practice squad or whatever?
So this guy is roughly the size of Harold Landry.
Oh, yeah, 6'3", 250. But like, I think we're just waiting to see if any of our dudes. Well, aren't you all special? Able to beat the Vikings? Please share your secret with me because we can't. That's funny.
Did you guys lose to the Vikings? When did you guys lose to the Vikings? Must have been earlier in the season.
Yeah, remember we were talking about, well, did the Vikings are 5-0, but who have they beaten? And like the Niners were on that list. We're like, oh, all right, so they have actually beaten pretty good teams.
You guys lost by 6, Kenny. I mean, that's nothing.
Could be worse.
You guys have been beat to shit all year.
But yeah, I think we're just waiting to see if any of our potential replacements or some of our depth guys are going to be able to do it without going out into the free agency. If we go and we get no pressure, Muhammad he didn't do anything this coming week against the Packers, and James Houston. I don't know if he ended up getting any snaps or not. Looking over here, I don't see any snaps from him. Isaiah Thomas, not the basketball player, although he did wear a Isaiah Thomas jersey underneath, or a T-shirt underneath, which was cool.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah, Houston got 19 snaps. Like if some of these guys that they're like, oh, we'll give them a go, see how they work, and they don't work out, then I think, all right, we had a couple games checking it out. Let's go look before tomorrow, right?
I'd be shocked if James Houston was on the team next year. Straight up shocked. Amazed. I would be amazed.
Yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, we kind of were kicking around some ideas like, will they, won't they, what we just talked about basically. And like, I said, I think that, there's 3 weeks until the trade deadline. And now we've gone through 2 games of those 3 games, and so it's coming up here. We're not going to have another game. We're going to have one game.
Well, we'll have one game, but this is our last show.
So, right. So, in my opinion, if the players who played, if the defense plays like they played against Green Bay as they did against Tennessee, and I understand the disparity in the quality of those 2 teams, I do not think that the Lions will make a trade. So I tried to bet Michael Lutchies, who ends up in the chat sometimes. He thought they would make 2 trades. And I said I don't think they would make any trades. And so I bet him like we would promote him for a month. And if he was right, and if I was right, he would promote us for a month. And I haven't heard back from him. So I'm thinking the bet might not work. But I just don't. I mean, like Brad Holmes has not made many, if any, in-season trades. I can't remember one to do stuff. Now his roster,
Hawkinson was in season.
That was to get someone out. It wasn't to bring somebody in, right?
That's absolutely. That's the only in-season move I can recall.
But you are correct. That was an in-season trade. So
I love being correct.
It's the best kind. Right?
best kind of being is being correct. Okay. So here's the question that I've got for you then. Green Bay comes, right? We got Green Bay this weekend, and we go out there and we lose 38-31, and it's because we couldn't get pressure. They eat us up in the passing game. Is that enough?
No.
Did we do enough or not do enough per se to go, you know what, we need to pull somebody in. Like we need to fix this. We didn't get pressure and that hurt us bad enough where we lost to a division rival, lost our NFC North lead. We need to do something.
In my opinion, I don't know that there is somebody that they can trade for that is a quote unquote difference maker.
Yeah.
So let's just say if they trade for anybody, let's just say it for the sake of conversation that it's Harold Landry, and you line him up, the rest of the guys that I don't believe his mindset is different though, Buster. I think his mindset is his mindset regardless.
You don't think the closeness that we are to the Super Bowl is going to change?
I think Brad Holmes looks at this team as a progress bar that will never reach the end of being complete. And so he's always just going to stick to his process. Now, I could be wrong, and he might make a trade and surprise me. But I'll bet on the thing that I've seen him do, which is to do nothing.
Yeah.
Before I bet on the thing that I have not seen him do. And I don't think that if they make a trade for a pass rusher, I will understand it. Especially if it's like something like, oh, we're going to trade a 6th round pick to the Browns for Zadarius Smith and a 7th round pick or something like that.
Right.
Like, okay, we're just swapping 30 picks, difference in the draft, and you get to have this player. Neat. So I could see something like that if the compensation is basically even and you get the player, like I could understand that. I don't think that like he's going to do something that's like he's going to move off any type of worthwhile draft capital, like 1st through 4th round. I'd be really surprised considering how they have treated those types of picks over the last 4 years. So
he's definitely a long gamer, right? I'm in here for the long game. Are we the closest we've ever been to a Super Bowl this year? Yes. Also, going all in doesn't always work.
Right.
And if you go all in and don't get there, you're just better off. I mean, because it's really hard to win a Super Bowl, right? 31 teams don't do it every single year. The odds that it's going to be you are not good in general. So giving up the next couple years or, potentially helping your team the next couple years in addition to just get this year, it's risky. I mean, LA did it when they did their F them picks kind of thing, and they kind of went all in and got Von Miller at the trade deadline and that kind of thing. But it was a risky choice. And I'm not sure how risky Brad Holmes is. He hasn't seemed that risky.
He's not.
He's very, very collected, very calm, very planned out. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm building the team. And then as those pieces become available, he's adding them. I don't think he's going, oh, YOLO, and, throw the dice. Let's see what we got here. Like, that's just not his personality.
So first of all, I think that the players that would have been quote unquote going all in for are not available. Like that's Myles Garrett kind of a player. Like if you trade for Zadarius Smith or Harold Landry, you're not all in.
Well, Von Miller was kind of that, right? He was older. He was
or the Lions.
Yeah. I'm just talking about the Rams when they did it. The going all in is like, all right, Von Miller was good and he played well for them, but he wasn't Max Crosby. He wasn't Myles Garrett, right? So, can you see us getting somebody of his caliber?
No,
not Garrett and Crosby, but like Von Miller's caliber.
No,
kind of that like upper middle.
There's no one on the market that is at that level.
Yeah. That you're either meh or you're Crosby and Garrett, right?
Pretty much. Well, so in the market that is developing before this trade deadline, I think that you have guys that would make a difference. Would be any fan could watch if they traded for Harold Landry or Zadarius Smith. And when they take the field for the first time as Lions, you could look at them and be like, okay, that looks different than Muhammad or Ben Nyman or James Houston rushing the passer. That just looks different. Like, that looks better. I think that level is available. I think that none of those guys are above average replacement level pass rushers in the NFL currently for them at this moment. I don't want to guess what they would look like if you took them and put them on Detroit. I'm not that decent of a talent evaluator, and that I don't project well to that kind of thing. You want that kind of analysis, you might need to go to Eric Schlitt or just wait until Brad Holmes does something or nothing. But I think that Brad Holmes is the kind of like, these guys worked hard. Those are our guys. We're rolling with this.
Yeah.
And I think that if I had to put money on it, I would say he doesn't make a single move, and that you will see the edge position in this upcoming offseason be attacked the way that he attacked the cornerback position this last offseason. I wouldn't be surprised if they signed a prove it contract veteran like they did with Marcus Davenport, or re-signed Marcus Davenport. And I wouldn't be surprised if they spent their first round draft pick on a edge rusher that you can start opposite Hutchinson. And I wouldn't be surprised if they traded for, in the offseason, a guy that could be like, he's a good rotational player in this package with, whatever. Like, I could look for them to add a wrinkle in that way. But I mean, I don't think they're going to give up a 3rd round pick for it.
Right.
So like, I do think that the Lions roster is in a place where the best way to spend the Lions draft picks is to trade for proven quality NFL players. I just don't think that Brad Holmes is going to do that.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen Brad Holmes do that.
Yeah. It's past history shows that what he's likely to do, right? Not that it's the guarantee of future actions, but it is the likeliness.
So the trade for Cam Robinson to the Vikings get Robinson and a 7th round pick for a 5th round pick that can become a 4th round pick based on playing time.
Okay.
So, I mean, playing time, I'm going to say that that's a 4th round pick. Because
they need him. They need him out there.
Left tackle.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Cam Robinson and a 7th for a 4th round pick. Okay. He's a free agent next year. I don't think you're going to get a 4th round pick back if you let him walk into the market. So, but maybe.
So before we pop in real quick for our Week 9 preview, which we kind of talked a little bit about, I want to throw a couple things out. One that's just hilarious, and then a couple that shout outs to Lions. So this cracked me up. So we scored 130 points to New York Giants 10 points over the last 3 weeks. That's a big disparity. I thought it was funny. Thought you guys would get a kick out of it.
They're not very good.
They're not. Khalif Raymond is the first player with multiple 60-yard punt returns in a game since Gunnar Olszewski for the Pats back in 2020. Raymond's 90-yard punt return touchdown is the longest by a Lions player since Desmond Howard, former U of M alum, back in 2000, 24 years ago.
It's a long time.
He did 95 yards. And then finally, shout out to Jared Goff, the first player in NFL history to have 2+ touchdown passes, 110+ passer rating, and a 72% completion rate in 5 consecutive games. I've never been a big fan of passer rating, completion rate. Like, neither of those things really tell the story. But you have to be really damn good. Like, you can't be bad to do those things. You can't be a bad player doing throwing touchdown passes and having passer ratings that high. And to do it 5 straight games in a row, Peyton Manning didn't do it. Drew Brees didn't do it. Aaron Rodgers didn't do it. Tom Brady, I've heard of him. He hasn't done, like, this is pretty good. So congrats to Jared Goff for having this very obscure thing all to himself.
I have some interesting news. Remember Cam Sutton?
Yeah.
He was suspended for 8 games by the NFL for the situation that he found himself in Florida. They got him cut by the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
That suspension was lifted today.
Well, they're on week 9, right? So
this is not what that says. For violation, so Cam Sutton, who was suspended 8 games for violation of the league's personal conduct policy, had his suspension officially lifted on Tuesday and was given a roster exemption by the commissioner. So
did he have one more week left?
Is that the phrasing that you would use if his suspension had just run its course?
Maybe they had 1 more week left and we'll let you go. I don't know.
Also, former Lion Riley Patterson has a as a tryout for the kicker position for the Jets. So I'm totally hoping that Riley Patterson doesn't win it, because then he'd have to play for the Jets.
Yeah, really, it's for his sake. You hope he doesn't win it.
Correct. The Jets are fucking miserable.
Yeah.
So.
Did you want to watch that Bears loss? Do we want to throw that up on?
We can do that. There's several people that have stuck with us till the end, and we should treat them to the Hail Mary. Make it bigger.
All right. Make it bigger. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Can you see the whole thing?
Yes.
All right. So this is from Next Gen Stats. So 40-ish yards of scrambling, 65 yards in the air. And their win probability went from 3% up to 100 real quick.
There's so many things wrong about this play from Chicago side. They Tyreek Stevenson, one of their corners, was trash talking with fans, and the receivers for the Commanders were at the 20-yard line before he even realized that the play had started. Also, he is the guy that tips the ball to Noah Brown. Congrats to Noah Brown. That won him the game. So that seems karmic. And it's a rival, so to speak. And the Bears had 4 players trying to stop Jaden Daniels when they should have had 0 players trying to stop him.
And one that literally did nothing.
Yeah.
What I paid attention to here is, okay, so he scrambles off. When he finally throws the ball, look at how effortless it is. He didn't really close his eyes and really heave back. He just flung it, and it was 65 yards in the air.
So
crazy.
I think so. First of all, I think it was Steve-O, or maybe it was Brian earlier in the chat, said it's hard to find a rookie quarterback, and they're right. They're 100% right. Yeah. And every year, lots more misses than there are hits. But I got to tell you, between C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams, especially Jaden Daniels, who looks like the best
C.J. Stroud
so far this year, and Drake May, if he comes back and continues to play like he had been, that looks like 3 hits. Yeah. At least so far in their rookie years. Now, got to give them 2 more years before you really gauge them, I suppose. But
a lot different than Trevor Lawrence's year, right? Where he's the only one still starting.
And I feel like Justin Fields should be starting in Pittsburgh. I know he was hurt this week, but I think that he played well enough through the first 4 games to be that was his job. Joseph is right. There's so much that goes into playing that position that it's unbelievably hard to project, So, but congrats to those teams, to New England, Chicago, and Washington. It seems like you found your guys. So,
yep. And Caleb did not play particularly well that game.
No.
But he's a rookie, right? You're going to have those games, but he did not look good.
I think Caleb Williams is going to be an exceptional NFL quarterback.
Oh, I totally agree. That was not the game that highlighted it.
Right. So, I mean, like, the thing about Washington, which, God, I wish they changed their name. I was hoping for the Red Hogs when they were doing their name change.
Red Hogs with a G?
Yeah. Yeah, Hogs with a G. Yeah. So, like, I thought that would have been a pretty cool name. And, like, give them, like, a feral pig kind of mascot. I think that would have been fucking cool. Or like a Razorback like Arkansas has or whatever. So, like, but Jaden Daniels is fun to watch, man.
Yeah.
Like, that is just fun.
That 65 yards, effortless. Didn't he have like a cracked rib or a broken rib or some shit?
He was week to week heading into this game. And they didn't know until late in the week if he was going to play, because this was billed as like the number 1 versus the number 2 pick. You know, so they wanted whoever aired it wanted the matchup, and they got the matchup, and they got this moment from that matchup. So,
and this is the first time I've ever seen us. This is NFL.com. We are
who put the list
number
together?
1. NFL. Eric Edholm.
Okay, I'm not familiar with him, but okay, so we're at the top.
Yeah, I've never.
And I like that.
I've seen us in the top 5 a few times in the Stafford era. This is the first time I've ever seen us in number 1.
Yeah.
So, lots of hope. Lots of hope. I want to do a quick preview for week 9.
Sure.
Let's do it. What are your thoughts? Who wins?
Detroit wins. I think they've won the last 3 against the Packers. And I don't see that changing. But, like, I'm just going to continue to go with the game plan that I pitch every week, which is that you need to run the ball really effectively.
Yep.
And if you do that, it will then, force the safeties down, which then will, I think, clear things up in the passing game. You can run play action. You can set, once you know what formation they're in, like, Goff can check to those kinds of plays that, like, I think hurts them in those looks. Like, I think that I keep hearing that Jared Goff is just an extension of Ben Johnson on the field. So if that's true, then I would be shocked if it wasn't like, hey, Jared, if you get this look, check to this play. You know, like, and if that's the case, like, I expect that the Lions will have an opportunity to really hurt them with an explosive play.
Yeah.
Jordan Love is a little banged up. I would prefer that he play a little bit hurt than just see Malik Willis play, because they haven't lost with Malik Willis. But, like, the Lions have gone up against quarterbacks who are playing exceptionally well, Kyler Murray being the one that I want to mention here, and made them look not nearly as good. You know, and I think that, like, Carlton Davis and Terrion Arnold are playing better. Branch and Joseph are playing so well right now. That I just think, like, if I was the Lions defense, I would be trying to take away their running game, and I would be trying to cover up their tight end, Tucker Kraft. And I would basically say, if you think you can win by throwing to your wide receivers, let's go. But I think that running the ball and throwing to their tight end are the 2 things that the Packers do very well.
Yep.
And if you stop that, you'll stop them.
Yeah, this is the first time that we've produced 100+ yard rushing yards and a rushing touchdown in each of the first 7 games of a season since 1936. I remember back in my day, like, I remember us going 70 straight games without a single 100-yard rusher. 70 straight games, Drew. That's like
a lot.
5.5 years.
Agreed.
And we've done it 7 times in a row, and we threw in a rushing touchdown in each one of those. Love it. This is the engine of our offense, right? If we can get this going and keep this going, if we can have an 8th straight game on this, I think we win. I think that's got to be our game plan, right?
Sunday. So the weather in Green Bay on Sunday looks like 56 degrees with 60% possibility of precipitation. However, it does say, I don't know, Mike, what time is the Lions game? Is it a 1:00 start?
I think so. That's a great question. Let me bring it up.
So it looks like at 1 o'clock on Saturday in Green Bay, they're predicting it should be 59 degrees and cloudy, and then precipitation moves in as evening rolls in. I will say,
what about 425? How does that look?
that's worse. So
apparently it's a 425 game.
So at 4 o'clock, it says that it's supposed to be 56 degrees and the little rain cloud with raindrops falling. So if this game is rainy and muddy, I call it a coin flip, because sometimes the slipperiness and the field conditions will affect shit. And once the ball starts bouncing in a way that you can't predict, I don't like playing in those games. So if it was me and it was raining, I would just give the ball to David Montgomery like 50 times.
Well, that's why I was like, why would you downgrade it to a coin flip? I think that would definitely help us, wouldn't it? Because I think we just have a better run game. Yeah.
So like, it feels like the kind of game that the Lions had like against the Rams. Did we go to overtime against the Rams?
Yep.
So, I mean, it would feel like to me like you just want to do
Michael?
that. Hey, what's up, Mike? Hey, we going to do this bet or not? So if it's raining, I would just have my offensive line beat their defensive line into the fucking dirt all game. Like,
yep.
And just basically be like, okay, fourth quarter, it is 7-6 or whatever the score is, and we are going to 80 yards down the field and score to ice it. Like, that would be what I would try to do.
Yeah,
like
my biggest fear. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I think the Lions have the better punter, so I think that field position in a game of bad elements that could really affect the game. I don't
the better special teams
yeah.
for the other direction, right?
I don't like Goff in bad weather games.
That was my big hesitation. He does not protect the ball well. He fumbles pretty easily. And if it's wet and nasty and they get to him at all, that's the big like question mark for me.
He has fumbled 3 times over the last like 2 weeks, and the ball has bounced up into his body twice. And one other time, I think it was Zeitler fell on it.
Yeah. Better to be lucky than good.
And that is the point, is that over these last couple of games, the Lions have had opportunities to give the ball away and have not. So I don't want that streak to be broken, but I'm a little hesitant because it's continued to happen.
Yeah. I wonder if PFF counts that as a turnover worthy play.
I bet they do.
Because I've always assumed that it was a passing thing. Like, you throw it and it, the DB drops it or whatever. Because that happens all the time for everybody. But I always pictured that as the turnover worthy play. But I wonder if these fumbles that bounce right back to yourself is considered a turnover worthy play.
I would bet it is. So I'm going to do something new. I'm going to say the difference maker in this game is Brian Branch.
Ooh, I think
Brian
is so
Branch
good.
Well, right. It's not like, oh my God, Drew, what a limb you're stepping out on. But I think he will either have an interception or cause a fumble or come up with a tackle that prevents a first down conversion or something, an impactful play at the right moment that's going to seal the win or turn the tables or something that ultimately leads to a victory. So, I'm going to take I'm going to inch out onto this branch and take Brian Branch as my difference maker in this game. So,
yeah, I definitely can see that. He's the best player on that half of the ball now that Hutch is out, right? So,
and if they play Malik Willis, he has played well, but both of these safeties bait quarterbacks into making throws.
Yeah.
And you can't tell me with a dude who has 6 starts under his belt for his career is going to be like, oh, okay, Joseph is way off.
Yeah.
Or
he can never get there in time, right? As
there.
soon as you made that decision, he's already on his way.
I will say that Willis has he has a fucking cannon for an arm. Yeah. It's just that it's not accurate.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I mean, I definitely understand the Branch thought. I think that Sam Laporta is going to be our guy this
Okay.
week. I think we're going to win as well, but I think it's going to be lower. Now that I know the weather, I think it's going to be lower scoring. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be like 24-20 or something, which isn't super low scoring. That's still, 44 points between the two of them, but it's not the 43 we've been averaging the last 4 weeks, right? So I'm thinking like 24-20, and I think Sam Laporta is going to be the guy. We're going to keep to what we know best, which is that short West Coast style offense. The dude he's like a black hole for catching, right? He just doesn't drop the ball. And he's going to be the safety valve. I think they're going to, with JMO out, I think they're going to probably cover St. Brown pretty tightly. And I think they're going to try to sell out to stop the run, especially in bad weather. And when they do that, I think it's going to pop Laporta out more frequently than he's been open in the past. And he's going to be our guy. He's going to 2 touchdowns.
I'll say 2017 Lions.
2017.
I'm not going to pick the Packers.
All right. So I'm going to throw this in chat just for posterity. So Drew, 2017 Lions, Branch, player of the game.
Yeah.
And then I cannot type today.
Ooh, Joseph's going 31-17 Lions. I like it, Joseph.
I like it.
That's a bold take. And one other thing that should be mentioned is the Dodgers have a chance to sweep the Yankees in the World Series tonight, which would be cool.
Can't get any better than that.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any of the games after the first game.
Why would you?
Because it's baseball, right? But Kathy's son, Ari, is a huge Ohtani fan, so he's a big Dodgers fan. But he got hurt in the second game, like a shoulder injury. Is he still playing? Did he miss any time?
He has not missed any time yet, but the Dodgers have said that he won't pitch. So
he hasn't played. He hasn't pitched all year because he had Tommy John surgery.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yeah, earlier before the season started, I believe. So I just want to make sure he was still out there hitting, because that dude is just special. He's literally the GOAT, right?
I mean, like, he might be the best baseball player ever. I mean, like, he really might be, which is crazy to say.
And it's fun to watch.
Go Tigers!
Yeah.
So like,
who I was thrilled with. Anything else for the good of the crew?
No, I'm just want to thank everybody for coming out. We've had really good numbers in chat over the last couple of weeks. It's always fun to see when there's 10 people in chat or whatever, and you guys are always really excited about the Lions and respectful of one another and each other's opinions, which I really appreciate. So love seeing you guys come out. If you can just throw something in chat and just say hi, or if you want to stay the whole time and chat, like, it's great.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
It's always easy to talk about when the Lions win too. So like,
yeah, right, exactly. How's it going, Mike? It's great on Victory Tuesday. What are you talking about?
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all. So like, comment, subscribe if you haven't. I'm assuming many of you probably already have. So, but tell your friends. Let's get even more people in the chat watching this stuff. So, I will be here next Tuesday at 7. As normal, and we'll talk about whatever happened at the trade deadline. We'll talk about the Green Bay game. Hopefully, we're going to be happy talking about a win, and kind of go from there.
If the Lions win this game, they have asserted themselves, because they will have tiebreakers through the first half of the season over the Packers and Vikings. So they will have asserted their control over the division. And I think that you need to put pressure on your opponents to try and, quote unquote, make up the difference.
Yeah.
So like, it's just one more game that those teams don't have to give back at the end of the season. So like, this is a very important game, I think, for the Lions and like their quest to be the number 1 team in the NFC. So.
Yep. Agreed. All right. Great chat with everybody. We will catch you in next week. hopefully for another Victory Tuesday.
Go
See you
Lions.
guys.